I used to work at a bar, and let me tell you, it was one of the wildest experiences of my life. If you've ever worked in a bar, you know exactly what I mean when I say you see things you never would have imagined. People act in ways you didn't even know were possible. And of course, some of the stories are so bizarre, you'd think they were straight out of a movie. One night stands out more than the others. It was 3 a.m., and the place was almost empty. The regulars had all filtered out, and I was in the middle of cleaning up, wiping down counters, stacking glasses. My only company was the bouncer, who was just as tired as I was, staring out the door. I thought we were in the clear when suddenly, the door swung open with a force that nearly knocked it off its hinges. In walked a group of men, wearing matching t-shirts that read Team Bachelor. They had just come from a wedding, or at least that's what they told me. They were clearly way past their limit. One of them, in a fit of excitement or maybe alcohol-induced delirium, started shouting at the top of his lungs, "Let's party." And somehow, it felt like the entire street had heard him. They began ordering drinks, one after another, louder and louder. The place that had been peaceful just moments ago was now buzzing with their energy. They made a game of it, who could drink the most, who could shout the loudest. But then, in a split second, the energy shifted. One of the guys grabbed his buddy's hat off his head, yanked it off like he was on some kind of mission, and tossed it across the bar. It landed in the corner with a dramatic thud. Everyone else laughed, but I was standing there, trying to keep my cool, thinking, this is it. This is my life now. A bachelor party at 3 a.m., throwing hats around like it's no big deal. The guy who had his hat thrown at him didn't even flinch. He just started singing at the top of his lungs, making everyone else join in. At this point, I was so fed up, I thought about just letting it go. But, of course, the chaos only grew from there. The bachelor made his way to the bar, leaned on it like he was best friends with the bartender, and ordered a round of shots for everyone. I could barely hear myself think with all the shouting, but I did my best to stay professional, all while fighting the urge to roll my eyes. It didn't stop there. One of the guys decided he was going to dance in the middle of the floor. He wasn't really dancing, he was just stumbling around, arms flailing like he was trying to swim through the air. Of course, the group encouraged him, and the next thing I knew, everyone in the bar was part of his impromptu dance party. At this point, I just wanted them to leave so I could go home, but there's no telling when that was going to happen. As if the night wasn't crazy enough, I once had an entirely different experience at another bar in Edinburgh. This time, the crowd was much quieter, almost suspiciously calm. The music was lower, and the place had a more relaxed vibe. But, much like everything else that happens when you work at a bar, that calm didn't last long. The plumbing system suddenly burst. No, seriously, the pipes underneath the floor started leaking, flooding the entire space. Water was pooling near the entrance, creeping its way across the bar. Customers didn't seem to care, they were more focused on their drinks than the wet floor, and I was left to mop up while trying to keep everyone from slipping. But here's the kicker. One of the customers, who had been visibly tipsy from the start, looked at the puddle and went, "Perfect. A little slip and slide, anyone?" And without missing a beat, he took off his shoes and slid across the floor, completely ignoring the fact that there was a literal flood in the bar. As you can guess, he didn't last long. A few minutes later, security was escorting him out, his feet wet and his pride even wetter. Then, there was the time I worked at a club in London. I'll never forget this one. It was just another ordinary Saturday night, or at least I thought it was. The club was packed, the music was pounding, the lights were flashing. People were dancing, and everything seemed pretty normal until they walked in. A couple, no older than 25, walked up to the bar, looked at each other with that "let's do something crazy" expression, and then, without any warning, climbed up on the bar, sat down, and started making out like they were in some romance movie. The other patrons were watching in disbelief, some laughing, others just staring. At first, I thought, maybe it's a joke. Maybe they're just being funny. But no, it didn't stop. They were on the bar, completely oblivious to the chaos they were causing. I had to step in. I told them in the most polite way I could manage that this wasn't the place for that kind of show. But the guy, completely unfazed, looked me in the eye and said, "Come on, mate. It's a party." I had to call in security to escort them out. And as they